Hi stitching friends, I'm Amy, I'm the Globetrotting Stitcher, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time visiting us, I hope that you enjoy what you see and that you will stick around. Hit the subscribe button at the top and stick around with us and see what we're up to. If you are a returning friend and subscriber, welcome back. Thanks so much for sharing part of your time with us every couple of weeks. We really do appreciate it. Today is Sunday, February the 27th, and we're doing okay here in our neck of the woods. Before we get into the stitching, I wanted to share just a couple of updates. So in our last video, I was telling you folks that I'm a little bit of a newbie gardener, and that I had taken a bit of a gamble and got some primroses and planted them, and I was hoping that we would be okay with our weather. And it was fun reading all of your comments in response to that, because many of you were sharing that you are in colder climates, that you're going to be either under very cold weather or snow for some time to come yet, and so you were envious that I was able to plant the primroses. Well, as you of greater wisdom and experience may have guessed, we had a little bit of a cold snap here this week, and it got colder than it's normally would get this time of year, and so we've been below freezing, well below freezing at night for the better part of the week. And in fact, one morning we actually woke up to snow. And so my primroses have not died, but they are looking pretty shaggy and sad. So I'm hoping that they will pull through, and we have started to warm back up again. We actually got rain yesterday, and it looks like it's supposed to rain for the better part of the next week. So definitely more our normal menu of weather here. So I'm hoping that those primroses will perk up and pull through, but they're looking pretty sad right now. One of the things I also wanted to say thank you. It sounds like there's a lot of you gardeners out there, and several of you had some really great tips and suggestions for me on ways that I can make gardening a little bit more cost effective. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Some great ideas there that I will be looking into as we move forward with this new kind of adventure. I think one other thing I wanted to mention, so the big kind of news that I had shared with you in the last video was that I am beginning to travel for work again, and I'm going to Nairobi. So I'm actually leaving here in a couple of days, and so the big push is on to get ready for that. It's been a very busy couple of weeks for me at work in planning for that trip and organizing for the discussions that I'm going to be a part of. And so it's coming together, but it's, like I said before, it's a lot more complicated now than it used to be. And, but we're getting there. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'll be more on the stitching side of what I'll be doing with that trip later on. But I had a fun little exchange that I wanted to share with you. So I mentioned Jemima, the rocking stitcher, on my last video, and she and I exchanged some messages because I was telling her that, normally when I go to, actually most anywhere when I've traveled to Africa, but especially Nairobi, I almost always fly through Amsterdam on my way. And so I was telling her that, once hopefully things continue to calm down with COVID and cases continue to drop and we don't have any more new and scary variants emerge, and so if all goes well, I was telling her that one of these days I would love to extend my stay, instead of just having like a layover, actually stay in the Netherlands for a day or two and make the trip out to meet her and the other girls who are part of the Stitchketeers group. And so we chatted just, briefly saying that would be a really fun thing to do at some point. So I will for sure, when I'm in Amsterdam on my way there and on the way back home, we'll be kind of thinking of those girls while I'm in Amsterdam and waving hello from the airport, since I can't get out to actually meet them this time around. But yeah, looking forward to the day when maybe there's a possibility for an in-person meet and greet. One other thing I was thinking about this week that I wanted to talk about is Nashville Needlework Market. I don't know if I'm the only one who feels this way, but I just feel like this year market, it's always good, but this year it feels exceptionally good. There are so many beautiful new charts that are being released for market this year. And I know it seems like every year there's always one designer that just like knocks it out of the park with everything they're releasing. And for me this year, that's Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. Just every single chart that she is putting out for market, I was like, yes, 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 I want all of those. There are so many pretty things. So I'd love to hear in the comments from all of you. Are you planning to do any pre-orders for market this year? And who's kind of the designer du jour for you? Who's kind of ringing your bell this year? And what are some of your favorites that are coming out for market? Because I just feel like this year it's an exceptionally good crop of new charts to tempt us with. So with that, I think there was just one other thing I wanted to mention before we get into all of the whips, and that is a new floss tuber that I have discovered in the last couple of weeks that I wanted to introduce all of you to. Her name is Kelly, and her channel is called Pages and Stitches, and it's Pages. So the actual channel name that you would type in to find her channel is Pages, the number 3, and then the word Stitches. But she pronounces it Pages and Stitches. And one of the things I really thought was interesting about her approach, she's both a quilter and a cross stitcher. And so she films quilt videos separately from her cross stitch videos for folks that may, only prefer one or the other. But I've, as of right now, I think she's got 4 or 5 cross stitch videos out that she's released since the beginning of the year. So I got a chance to watch a couple of those over the last week and really enjoyed her videos, really enjoyed the things she's working on. Like many of us, she loves the fancy ladies. So there's lots of beautiful mirabilias and Bella Filipinas. And so she shared a stash video and a whip parade. And so yeah, if you haven't found Kelly yet, I hope you'll go check her out. I thought her channel was really great. She is a fellow redhead, so I'm automatically predisposed to think she's a great person. And I just thought she did a really nice couple of videos to introduce herself to the community. So Kelly, welcome. I'm looking forward to more videos from you in the future, and was really happy to discover your channel. Okay, so let's talk about what we've been stitching on the last couple of weeks. The first piece that I wanted to share with you is my seasonal chart, or my seasonal design. I am stitching Par une Nuit Enchantée by Couleur d'Étoile on a piece of 40 count anthracite linen. That is the called for linen, and I am using the called for floss. As I've shared in the past, I decided to make one change to the floss, and that is most of the chart is called for to be stitched in DMC B5200. And I am doing that, but I've added a strand of Krynic blending filament just to give it a little tiny bit of shimmer. So the last time you saw this design, it was a brand new start, but I had made a really solid new start, and I had stitched close to the first half of the design. So I had stitched most of the left side where I had gotten in a couple of trees. There's some like these big sparkly things up at the top and some snowflakes. And then that side of the chart is dominated by this really pretty sleigh with animals in it. And so this is where it is right now. I had hoped to get this finished, but I knew it was a bit of a long shot. And I'm actually pretty pleased with what I accomplished on it. It's very close to a finish. So I did finish stitching in the presents, and I finished stitching and filling in the sleigh here. The other thing, and so I had talked about this in my last video because I had stitched in the fox. The chart offers you 2 different floss options. One of those is Gentle Arts Apple Cider, and the other is one of the variegated DMC flosses. And I had apple cider in my stash, so I went ahead and stitched it with that initially, and I was just not happy with the color of it. Actually, I left the squirrel in. The squirrel is stitched in the apple cider, and but the fox was just too like brownish orange for me, and I was really envisioning more of this reddish orange tones. So I frogged it, I ordered the DMC, and so this time around I did get to stitch in the fox, and I am really, really pleased with the change that I made. The color that it came out as is exactly what I was kind of envisioning in my mind, what I wanted that fox to look like. So I'm really, really happy that I went ahead and did that, pleased with that decision. So that got finished. And then I moved over here to the right side of the chart. So I stitched in most of this reindeer here. He is missing his back legs, which is unfortunate, but we'll remedy that. Stitched this kind of big starburst thing up here in the stars and snowflakes. One of the elements that I really find charming about this design is you've got these beautiful white birds that kind of have the reins of the reindeer. So I got those stitched in, as well as these sweet little birds that are carrying stars to hang on the tree, which I thought that was lovely. So those pieces got stitched. Then this little element, this tree here, I finished the snow all along the ground. And then I'm about 2/3 of the way done stitching in this big snow-covered evergreen tree. So this one for sure will get finished the next time it comes up in the rotation. But I was very, very pleased with just how much progress I made. And I'm really loving how this is looking. I actually, since I now was able to make enough progress to get all of, the width of the piece and the height of the piece stitched in, and I'm just doing fill in, I was able to actually already order a custom frame for this. So that frame will arrive and be ready for me to do a full finish on this by the time I get back to this in my rotation. So I'm really looking forward to just being able to roll right into that and get it all done. Okay. Another piece that I have been working on at long last is a chart that has been sadly neglected in the last several months. That is my travel stitching. I am working on Silent Night by Country Cottage Needleworks, and I am stitching this on a piece of 32 count light blue Lugana using all of the called for flosses. So the last time you saw this, I had stitched in, I was starting to do the fill-in. I was almost done doing the fill-in on the left side of the church. And I had been working on the evergreen tree to the right-hand side of the church. And that was really all of like the main progress I had made. This time around, I've had a couple of different times to work on this, and so it's not a ton of progress, but it is good, solid, noticeable progress. So I did finish filling in this side of the church. That's completely done now. I've made good progress towards stitching in this door here in the center, as well as more progress on this window. I just have a little bit of the fill-in left to do there. I've also started stitching down from doing the fill-in on the right-hand side of the church, and have begun stitching in the snow underneath. So as I said, good solid progress. And I'm feeling good about having some momentum on this piece at last. I feel like I'm gonna start making some good progress on this from this point forward, but happy with where we are right now. And yeah, looking forward to working on it again. Okay. Next up is my weekend stitching, and this design is called Butterfly Port Mauve. It is a Heaven and Earth Designs chart, and I am stitching it on a piece of 28 count white easy grid Lugana, 2/1, and I'm doing half stitches. On this one, it's a little hard to provide a clear explanation for what's changing from one time to the next, just because there's so much background and it's going to be all background for a long time on this. What I would say is that I've, from the last time you saw this until now, I think the last time you saw it, I was around 800 stitches completed, and I'm now around 15 or 1600. So I've made some nice progress. And this is what it is looking like. I think one of the more notable bits of the progress here is that I have now, this is the end mark of the top of page 1. So although obviously there's still quite a bit of fill in to do, it's nice when you kind of hit those boundary marks. And so you know, okay, page 1, I'm all the way across the top, even if it's just one row of stitches. So yeah, it's pretty. This is one, as I've said, it only gets about 250 stitches a week. I work on it for, a couple, in the morning on the weekends. So it never is going to see a ton of progress, but it is slowly and steadily building, and that's exciting to me. So that is where I am on Butterfly Port Mauve. All right. The next WIP we have to share with you is Gary's. He is stitching on Captain America by Awesome Pattern Studio. That is an Etsy shop, and we will include a link in the description box below. And he is stitching this design on a piece of 16 count pewter Ada using all the called for DMC. So Gary, do you want to tell us about where it was last time and what you've done?
Well, where it was last time, it didn't have any black in it. Now there's just a little bit of black in it, which means I haven't done much. Anyway, so this is what it looks like, or that's what it looks like. I think I'm getting my motivation back for this one. I'm starting to feel it, because it's starting to look like something rather than like this glob of color. So maybe I'll get back on it on a more regular basis. But other than that, if you look on the left side, like right by where his shoulder is, he's got his shoulder dipped. All of that blue right there has to come out because it's up high by one spot. So all of that has to come out. And I figure if I'm going to do that, I might as well take out the rest of the gray that I put in there earlier and just make sure it's all right. But that's where I am on Captain America. Like I say, now that it's starting to look like something, I'm really enjoying working on it. But prior to that, I felt like it was just a blob of colors. But that's where I am on that. I did finish my the model I showed you, the Da Vinci model. I'll put something up so you can see it. I finished that up and I started a new model. And that one, Amy got me for, what was that, Valentine's Day? Mm-hmm. That one is it's a luminescence globe. I'll put a picture of it up. And this is where I am now. I don't know if the mic even picked that up, but this is where I am now. This is a little electronics package that will control the light. These gears are little, it's not cardboard, it's wood, but you wax them up so that they stay this way, they stay limber, I guess. Anyway, so this is what I'm working on. So if there's a question about why I haven't gotten on with Captain America, it's because I finished my Da Vinci model, and I have just started another model. And this one's going to be cool because the globe will light up, and it'll have like a mechanical aspect to it, and you'll see a bunch of gears move. Anyway, so that's where I am with my stuff. I do have another cross-stitch pattern that I want to make that we actually have, but that's going to have to wait for Captain America. So there's at least one more cross-stitch pattern in the wings, and then I may go back to just doing models. I don't know. Anyway, that's that.
Gary's a devoted monogamous stitcher. He's a rare breed in the stitchy community, but it's probably wise to do it that way. Let's see. Okay, we have one more whip that we wanted to show you today, and that is my full coverage piece. I am stitching Rose Trellis in by Heaven and Earth Designs on a piece of 28 count white Lugana, also 2/1 using half stitch. And this past week, I haven't had quite as much stitching time, and I've been dealing with a lot of confetti in this, so there's not as much progress as I'd like. The last time you saw it, I had stitched the woman in the window, and we had talked about how I was a little disappointed at how blobby she is and how, very indistinct features, very understandable given the constraints of the available stitches that you can actually use to chart her. Acknowledging that it's not, the people in the design are kind of incidental. They're not necessarily the focus of the design. It's the architecture of the house that's really the focus. And so I'm fine with it. But yeah, so that was kind of where I was last time. And I had also kind of started moving my way across the house to, getting close to finishing that section of the tower that I was stitching in. So here is where I am right now. And although I haven't gotten in a ton of stitches, I do think that there is some decent progress to report here to you. So I have now finished stitching in all of at least for, this page, all of the window. I'm almost finished stitching in the pink siding here. And then up here, I have almost finished stitching in this. I don't know if this is what you call a dormer window, but whatever this window is kind of in the attic, I'm almost done with that now. and have gotten in a pretty sizable section of the pink siding here. There's a tree, a little evergreen tree that'll be stitched in here. I don't think I'll get to that this time around, but that should start appearing very soon. So it's coming along. I still really love this. It's not always a fun design to actually stitch on, just because I don't enjoy stitching confetti and I don't enjoy going slowly. But it is so rewarding to see this chart or this image continue to take shape. So it is really beautiful, and I do enjoy it. Okay, so I think that is it for us as far as what we've been working on. I do have a piece of haul to share with you, but I wanted to make sure to mention something before I go too much farther, and that is we did get a comment in our last video from someone who, so several of you have asked over the course of our videos about the little display that happens over here. And many of you have noticed that does change every week. So this is kind of one of Gary's contributions to, he's got a decent action figure collection. And so it's always fun to see what he wants to put up and share from that in each of the videos. But one of you had asked about, or said that you wanted to see more of the super women making an appearance. We've had a lot of guy action figures in recent videos. And so for you, Gary has brought out a collection of some of his best and strongest ladies. And so I hope you enjoy that. Okay, so haul. There is a chart, or actually it's a kit. It's a Dimensions kit that I first saw this completed on Luda, from Cross Stitch with Luda, on her video. And this is something she stitched a couple of years ago, and she has brought it out several times since to show it on her videos. And every time she shows this design, I'm like, oh man, I want to stitch that so badly. And this is a design that if I had just seen it in a store, I would have been like, oh, that's cute. But I would never have been like pulled in and thought, oh, I really need to stitch that. That's just beautiful. But because I've seen it stitched on her videos, just the way that it was designed, the play of color and light and the texture, everything that's kind of gone into the overall design, it's a really, really beautiful design when it is stitched up. And so this is, so it's been a unicorn of mine for a while because it's out of print, and it is a chart that is really, it's not super hard to track down. It's a little bit hard to track down, but when you can find it on eBay, it is pretty pricey. And so I've been tempted several times, but I've always been like, I'm not spending that much money to buy a kit and then have to spend like $25 for shipping it on top of that. And so I have a saved search on eBay, and this popped up probably 4 to 6 weeks ago. And it was actually at a really reasonable price. It was just a little bit above what the original retail price would have been for it. And I saw that and I was like, I'm putting a bid on that. And so I went ahead and put a bid on it. And then I sat on pins and needles for a week, hoping that nobody else, I was just fully expecting that somebody was going to come in at the end of the week and bid just slightly higher and get it. But nobody did. I was the only bid. And so I am finally in possession of one of my unicorns. And this is Mare and Foal, as I said, a full kit by Dimensions. Absolutely love it. I don't have any immediate plans to stitch it, but I am really looking forward to when I can bring this into my rotation and start working on it, because it is a gorgeous design. If you haven't seen the finished version, I encourage you to look back through some of the videos on Luda's channel, because she has shown it a number of times, and this is a really beautiful special design. All right, quickly, I want to talk about what I'm going to be working on, what Gary and I will be working on between now and our next update. As I've mentioned, I will be traveling and going to Nairobi, and so I have kind of reworked my my rotation a little bit to accommodate that. So I am going to spend one more day working on Rose Trellis In. After that, normally I would go to Floralia Sampler, but what I'm going to do instead is put in a couple of days before I leave on my trip on Royal Holiday. That's what I would normally have been working on during the week that I'll be in Nairobi. And I just felt like the design itself is so big, and all the beads and all the Kreinik, I didn't want to take something like that and try and fiddle with it in a hoop. when I'm traveling. It's just not going to be convenient for that. So instead, I'm going to work on that, put in a couple of days. It won't get the full week that it normally would, but I will make some progress on it this next week. And then when I travel, I will be taking my travel stitching, which is Silent Night, which you saw today. And then I will also be taking Floralia Sampler. It's another big chart, but I feel like it's going to travel pretty well because it's monochromatic. And so although it's a lot of fabric, it's not going to have any of those extra elements that are going to make it a little bit difficult to work with and more fiddly. So I think that'll be a good option for hotel time, plane time, and so on. So those are the two pieces I'm going to take. I'm going to try and fit in some time on my butterfly port Mauve. And Gary will kind of split his time between Captain America and his models. So that's what we're going to be working on. I did get a question from someone on my last video about whether I would be taking Bush Market with me when I go to Africa, which I did think about. I did think about quite a bit because it would be really nice to actually work on an African design while I'm somewhere in Africa. And there's an extra special kind of like synchrony between it because the meetings that I'm going to have in Kenya are in part focused on agriculture markets and how well they're functioning. And the chart is actually of an informal, like local agriculture market in a village where you've got farmers and their produce. And so there's kind of a really nice tie between the subject of my trip and the actual subject of the design. But there's so many colors and color changes in that chart that I think it would just be a little too much to try and bring a lot of floss and do all of that, when I'm outside of a setting where it's easy to work on. So I'll work on it when I come home. So I think that's kind of it for us. I did want to say in closing, Gary and I are, I think like many of you, this last week, the situation that has been unfolding in Ukraine is very much heavy on our hearts. I know we have a lot of fellow stitchers who are there. I've mentioned Luda; she is in Ukraine, and I didn't want to go without saying how much that's heavy on our hearts, how concerned we are, and that we are thinking about praying for and really standing with the people of Ukraine right now in the situation that we're in. It's because of my travel coming up. It's going to be a bit before this next video before this video itself actually goes up. So it's hard to say how the situation will have evolved even by the time this video is posted. But I did just want to acknowledge that and mention that I'm very much thinking about it and thinking about the names and the faces that we know who are there. So with that having been said, thank you again for spending time with us today. Please do give the video a like. If you're not a subscriber, I hope you'll subscribe, leave a comment, hit the bell for notifications. You can follow me on Instagram at globetrotting_stitcher and send emails to globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com. So thank you, take care, and happy stitching to you. Bye-bye.